Welcome everyone. It's been a while. A lot of personal things has been going on recently in all directions of my life, and I just hadn't had the time to make any videos because of it. I will try to upload and comment when I can, so thanks everyone for understanding and for being here. Let's go ahead and dive in.
Who even is he? So the Count Saint Germain is said to be a mysterious, wealthy, and charismatic man who appeared in various parts of Europe in the 18th century. He was known for his knowledge in science, music, and art, as well as his ability to speak many languages. But the most interesting thing about him is his claim to have discovered the secret to immortality. And a lot of people believed he never aged. One of the most popular theories about the Count Saint Germain is that he is immortal. People believe he found the secret to eternal life, and that's why he's able to keep his young... What word would I want to use? It's the reason he doesn't age, basically. So a lot of people believe that he found the secret to immortality, and that's why he doesn't age. Another theory is that he's able to freely move through different periods of time. You don't know what that means? That means people believe that he is a time traveler. If you watched my first video on the Count Saint Germain, then you already know this theory, that he's a vampire. But I want to get into this theory right here, the alchemist theory. So some believe that he was an alchemist and he could turn base metals into gold. Saint Germain was also rumored to possess the Philosopher's Stone, which is basically the ultimate goal of an alchemist. Okay, so according to ancient texts about alchemy, the Philosopher's Stone, it's said to grant you eternal life. And this is how some people believe he's maintained his youthful appearance throughout several centuries. Makes sense. Makes sense. Now, I know this is part of old legend and old myth. So some people need me to say this, that it's myth and that it's legend. I think we can agree on the fact that it is really interesting.
The thing is, would you really want to be immortal? I'm 33 years old and the thought of being immortal on Earth just sounds like absolute eternal hell to me.
The following video is from a witness in Ecuador. He said he was walking along the beach when he noticed this massive black cloud hovering right above the water. And he has no good explanation as to what caused this or why it's there, but it does oddly look like some sort of cloak shift. It's weird that it's just sitting above the water. Take a look at this and tell me what you think.
Fenómeno, una nube negra. En pleno cielo azul, a la mañanita. Increíble, una nube extraña. Observen, todo está azul y una nube extraña. Mire, patrón, esa nube. ¿Qué será, no? Una nube extraña, bajita sobre el mar. ¿De qué se trata? No se sabe.
I've never seen a cloud that low, but is it a natural phenomenon or is it something more strange? I honestly couldn't tell you.
Milking room. I hope you cows are decent. Oh, crap on a crutch!
Ow! Ugh, my bones are so brittle. But I always drink plenty of milk.
How long before the WEF comes out and states that all milk by 2030 will be made by rats? If they can promote cricket burgers and fake meat, I'm sure they would chance their arm for rat milk.
Are you saying that the bill is designed in such a way that that it's just opaque, that there's a looseness, there's a great freedom given there to the authorities? I mean, in other words, the risk is based on what they define the risk to be, rather than actually properly set out scientifically.
Absolutely. It'll no longer be based on medical evidence. So when you go to court and they can get get a court order ex parte, which means that you don't have to even be there.
Okay.
You don't have the right to be there and to see, hear and test the evidence.
So somebody from the health area can go into court, say, we believe this person over here is a risk. You're not even there. Might be a risk.
With no definitive proof.
And then what happens next? Then they get a court, let's say they're successful in the ex parte action.
Mm-hmm.
What happens then?
They can get a court order placed against the person, the premises or the thing. So I would say that the person would be some sort of medical intervention. When it comes to the thing and the premises, they can be detained. So seized. The government can seize your assets. They can also destroy your assets. It explicitly states that in the consultation.
That's extraordinary. And can I be? Can I just be pulled pushed into the back of an ambulance and brought off and jabbed inside in a hospital with a vaccine I don't want to take?
According to page 47, yes.
So I can be removed. I could be removed and taken off to hospital against my consent.
Mm-hmm.
But on what grounds?
If you are a risk.
But how do they define being a risk?
This is, everybody's focusing on page 47, which is what they're going to do. Mm. The rest of the document is more about how they are going to do it. So how they're going to do it is that the issue is that you do have rights, be it inalienable human rights. You do have this rights, but there's a provision within that you do no harm. So they're creating this scenario that you are a risk and a harm to circumvent your rights. And they're changing the rule of law, and they're changing the rule of the magistrates court to achieve this, where they're reducing the reasonable suspicion that is needed. So it's no longer medical evidence that's needed. It's very vague. So it'll be computer modeling or a theoretical risk where you could present harm. You may be a risk. It's very, very vague language. They don't even identify what a notifiable disease is. And it's an all hazards approach. So all hazards means an expansion of the risks and harms that the government need to protect you from, and they force their protectionism on you and criminalize you if you don't accept it. They need this totalitarian control because
Why do you think so?
What I have seen happen is, so you have a real asset, and the economy has been increasingly financialized. So that has been bet against, barred against, insured against, and so on. So money was made from money. That is starting to break down. So now you've noticed that they're going after the real assets. And that's why you see these natural asset companies and the like. So they're going after real assets, and the people are a real asset. So they need to control people before they realize that there's no backing to any of this. And for me, what I'm seeing is they're just going to keep on running. Inflation is going to continue until everything breaks, and they're trying to get in control over the people. Because right now the people are controlled through the monetary system.
So they're trying to get ahead of the masses coming for them, basically, I think is what you're saying.
If this idea is that we can remove your civil liberties in order to protect you, or if we can surveil you and monitor you, we can protect you that way. So if everybody just gets a digital ID and you allow for mass surveillance, then, we can just go back to our daily lives. The same thing that they did with the COVID pass. If you just take the pass, then you can go back to living your life. If you don't accept the pass, you don't get to live your life. You don't get to participate in society anymore. They have to get in digital ID before they can progress with CBDC. They need the data. And then they combine that data with the control mechanism of CBDC.
Yeah, because they made an attempt in Geneva, I'm sure you're aware of this, at the World Health Assembly, to get the whole world to move into the electronic IDs, and it failed because a lot of the developing countries simply didn't have the technology to do it. So it was back to paper and pen.
Let's see it for what it is. It's not about health risks. It's about the few who are in fear of retaliation against them for what they are doing to society and to the people, and soon to be global.
It's my husband's funeral, which unfortunately I cannot make because obviously I am busy here in Tunisia. I would have loved to have gone. We were together for 17 years. Unfortunately for me, he did decide to die on the week I had planned to come on holiday. So I did make the decision not to go because, I need a holiday at the end of the day. And my holiday is way more important than sitting in a church watching people cry. I would love to give him a good send-off. So I'm going to get absolutely drunk tonight with this new guy that I met, and I'm going to raise a glass for you, Jeremy, because you were an amazing husband, very rich. I can't wait to do the will reading when I'm home. I have made sure I'm going to be home in time to do the will reading, because I would not miss that for the world, because obviously I am due to get a lot of money, and that's a very, very important thing to me. So I hope you have a good funeral today, Jeremy. Love you. All good things have to come to an end.
Something tells me that the only thing turning up to her funeral will be a cement mixer to ensure that no one else has to deal with her dribble ever again.
Here's what he had to say in 1996.
Start by secretly creating a problem in the world and making sure someone else is blamed for it in the public arena, in the public mind. It could be a run on a currency, it could be a government collapse, at its most extreme it could be a war, because the two world wars in this century were funded, all sides were funded by the same people. Provable. The same people that funded the Allies in the Second World War and funded the Soviet Union also funded Hitler. Through loans from America, known as the Young Plan and the Dawes Plan, and also via the German subsidiaries of American multinational companies. Why would they do that? Why would someone want to fund all sides in a war? What is good is a war? Well, first of all, on one level, it makes vast amounts of money if you're lending money to all sides and you're also selling them lots of arms and all that stuff. But the fundamental reason for a war is to change the nature of post-war society. And what we saw in the First World War and the Second World War were massive global examples of problem-reaction-solution. We are looking at a gigantic contrick before our eyes. We don't live in a democracy in this country or in America or in these other places. We live in a one-party state where the same force from the peak of the pyramid string pulls all sides. The creation of a one-world government to which nation-states would be principalities, administrative units, a world central bank which would administer all financial transactions on the planet, a world currency which wouldn't be coins and notes, it would be merely electronic, cashless society, for which there are fundamental implications for freedom, as we'll see as we go along tonight. A world army under centralized control, with nation-state armies dismantled under the justification of seeking peace, and a microchipped population linked to a global computer, the latter of which sounds bizarre to many people on first hearing, except that we are ridiculously close to it and the technology already exists. So World Health Organization says there's going to be a measles epidemic next year. Get vaccinated. Get your children vaccinated. You're a bad parent if you don't. Then the same people that organize that then start flogging out the vaccine and make a fortune out of it. So if we take one element of that under problem, reaction, solution, it's amazing the extent to which we have given our power away, our spiritual power. It's all about taking our power back. Because once we do that, it's all over. In 1991, even in America, a virtually unknown governor for Arkansas called Bill Clinton was invited to the Bilderberg meeting in Baden-Baden, Germany. Within a year, this guy is successfully running for president of the United States. In 1993, another relatively unknown Labour Party Home Affairs spokesman in Britain called Tony Blair was invited to the Bilderberg meeting in Greece, along with his opponent, the Conservative Chancellor, Kenneth Clarke, by the way. Within a year, Tony Blair is leader of the Labour Party and, barring a miracle, will become Prime Minister of this country.
I can't say much regarding this clip because I'll get a strike, but BlackRock comes to mind.
Let's talk about how the Soviet Union has 69 years of classified events that we'll never know of. For real, that's actually how long they lasted for. But the discovery of the Tsul Princess is one of the few deep dark secrets that managed to see the light of day. Back in 1969, near the village of Tusulski in the Russian tundra of Siberia, a team of coal miners were busy digging deep into the ground. They were about 70 meters, which is 21 stories straight down, when the miners hit a wall that felt looser than the rest, like it was hollow on the inside. They struck it real hard and the rubble came crumbling down, uncovering a hidden tunnel that they definitely did not dig themselves. A few of them go inside this tunnel to see what's in there, and before long they come across something that none of them expected to find. A closed coffin, like 70 meters deep underground in a coal mine hidden inside a previously unknown tunnel system. This was something big. They dust it off and realize this ain't no regular coffin, but an ornately decorated white marble sarcophagus about 8 8 feet in length. Whatever this was, it was special, and the higher-ups would be paying big bucks for it. The miners tell their plant managers, who take a look and instantly call in the military for full extraction. But they all realized once the Soviet army comes in, they're probably never going to see this coffin ever again. Hoping to get something out of this monumental discovery, they managed to pry open the lid to find the body of a perfectly preserved woman inside, wearing a slightly see-through dress. She appeared to be about 30 years old, but the most interesting thing about her was that she was fully submerged in a pink liquid that filled the entire coffin. Her eyes were also wide open and was so well preserved that she almost looked like she was still alive. The army gets there and they try to lift the sarcophagus out of the mine shaft, but it's way too heavy to move. So, thinking nothing of it, they drained the liquid from the coffin to lighten the load, too quickly to realize just how grave this mistake was. As soon as the pink liquid emptied from around the woman, she instantly started to decay and turn black. Turns out, whatever this liquid was, it seemed to be preserving her to near perfection. They airlifted out of there and bring the coffin to a research lab where the scientists could not for the life of them identify what the pink liquid could have been. And when they dated the corpse to see how old the woman was, no one could believe what age they got. Immediately after this, the mine was shut down. The miners all let go, letting the military take over the facility in the 70s. The village of Tusulski nearby all hear about this find and the army takeover, and everyone's talking about it. With many residents from the town very clearly recall hearing about it at school and all over the news at the time. For all they knew, this wasn't a myth. It actually happened. When the KGB starts investigating the matter, all of a sudden the news stations stop talking about it, and follow-up reports come out saying that it was all false information. And just like that, the entire discovery is painted as a hoax. Until decades later, when the Soviet Union fell, military operations like these got declassified, and articles reporting on it brought it back to the public eye. But the real craziest, most unbelievable part of it all, this coffin is allegedly said to have been over 800 million years old.
For me personally, 800 million years old is a stretch. However, I do believe this story to be true, and I can also see the higher ups trying to cover it, which makes you think just how much other stuff had they covered up over the years. I'm all for the rake, but if you're telling me you can turn handles on that itself in homes, then it better make a good cup of tea, hey?
ChatGPT, do they have artificial intelligence that can run entire social media accounts?
Sure. AI can now fully manage social media accounts. It can create posts, respond to comments, send direct messages, and engage with followers. Tools like ChatGPT, Midjourney, and automation bots handle these tasks. This technology is widely used in marketing, customer service, and personal branding.
Hey ChatGPT, does the government use these accounts to interfere in social, political, and science topics?
Yes, governments and organizations have been known to use AI-driven accounts to influence political, social, or scientific discussions. These bot accounts, or AI-managed profiles, can amplify specific narratives, suppress dissent, or shape public opinion. It's part of modern information warfare and propaganda strategies. It's part of modern information warfare and propaganda strategies. Modern information warfare and propaganda strategies. Propaganda strategies.
Imagine an online where 90% of the faces you see, the comments you read, the conversations and discussions you hold are nothing but propaganda bots. That's probably very true to life right now.
I'm surprised people haven't really understood this by now, but if you're in your spiritual awakening, you got to stop watching scary movies. These horror films, these things, they're not beneficial for you. Where do you think they come from? And for everybody who thinks this is a conspiracy theory, you need to look up the word. Conspiracy, to conspire, it means to think. A theory is a concept, and a conspiracy theorists are only a group of thinkers. Then it got turned into something weird and like evil. But it didn't start out that way. It's just a group of thinkers. People who think. And thinking is severely lacking nowadays. People don't think. People do not think at all. People only think that they think. People only assume that they think. They don't even think. They don't process thoughts. They don't process ideas. They receive ideas and then they just accept it. They don't care who it comes from. They don't care if it comes from the devil. They just accept it. When you are watching a movie, a scary movie, you will be presented with new images in your mind. These images will then influence you in one way or another. You might think that somebody's lurking in the dark when you are turning off the lights in your stairwell. Something unique is happening here. You're being tormented. This is the beginning. It's a vector point. It's a gateway to spiritual warfare. And this is not something, I understand if you educated people, the people with the doctoral degrees, the master's degrees, all of these degrees, you might think that this is beneath you. But how do you know the word if you don't know the word? Everything is a spiritual projection. Everything is a spiritual projection. How do I know? The word life? The word life, it means spiritual existence imparted by God. Everything that has existence has life, and it was gifted to us by God. That's life. That is life itself. Everything. When you see scary movies, you will undoubtedly shift your path. There's no purpose for them. They're here to destroy you. They're here to implant the imposter syndrome. What do you think? When was the last scary movie that you watched?
If you look back at some of the horror movies in the past, like The Exorcist, Poltergeist, and The Conjuring, many people started to experience paranormal at home or in their lives. So I do believe this type of stuff can enter your home when you watch these films and shows.
They take pictures of the parasites that get out of you on these different deworming programs. A woman got 18-inch long critters out of her that were so thick she couldn't get them into a top of a juice bottle. They're usually translucent, they're usually white, and there's some of them that look like tarantula spiders, some of them look like grasshoppers, some of them look like little tiny miniature sailboats, some of them look like little spacecraft.
This is truly going to blow your mind. It'll change the way that you view health altogether. This guy looked through these books from the 1800s and he noticed they all had parasite cleansers.
And what did they know back then? What were they doing? Guessing? I started finding books that were published by doctors through the 1800s, books that they read and books that they learned from. And lo and behold, out of every single book were deworming programs, parasite programs. For doctors in those days did autopsies and they found parasites. And I looked at that and I got a hold of doctors and they said, no, we don't have parasites today. So we started to search for parasite programs just to see what was going on, to see if maybe something was happening that we really didn't understand. So I did myself first. And lo and behold, I got 8 and 10-inch critters out of me. They were white. First of all, they were in a toilet water and they were all bunched up. I thought it was mucus. Until, just for a curiosity, I threw some hot water in the toilet to warm it up and then went and gosh, they strung out and they were swimming all over. We're now doing pictures in color out of clinics where you go potty on a special pot screen in it and they take pictures of the parasites that get out of you on these different deworming programs. Yeah, this is really strange stuff. I have never yet dewormed anyone where they didn't tell me, hey, I feel 25% better. Maybe got halitosis, you're loaded, because that's worm urine and worm droppings that you're breathing out. So it's no wonder your breath's bad. When they pee, that's called ammonia. So just go to a doctor, have a blood test, and see what level of ammonia is in your blood. If you have ammonia in your blood, that's called worm urine. You get a headache. You got the headache because the worms are all peeing, trying to get you to eat something else. They're trying to make you sick so you'll get off of what you're doing and start eating. So you take some arginine and orthodine, and in a matter of 20 minutes, if the headache's gone, you've neutralized the worm urine, and you know that you're loaded. All children that have little tiny pimples on the backs of their arms or little tiny pimples here on the edges of their cheeks have 5 varieties of critters in them. 5 varieties. It's time to deworm, and it's time to get them out.
It's scary to know that we all have these little fellas in our bodies who cause all types of problems, yet we don't have a cure for the wee rascals, as far as I'm aware anyway.
Future strategic issues. 2025. I decided to just flip through it quickly to see what it was about. I was a little stunned on page 4. The presentation is based in all cases upon existing data, trends, analysis technologies, no pixie dust. And the entire premise of the document, or the PowerPoint, is about robots, cyborgs, and humans, a conflict between future and now. And I thought, what are they covering up? And that's why we're talking right now, because I think most people would be shocked to find on page 93.
So who wrote this document, and was this intentional? Did they want the public to see this, do you think? Or
the most wealthy, rich men on the face of the planet always telegraph everything that they're going to do. So the fact that it was on the NASA website, it was certainly available to the public. But did they see it? Obviously not. That's the purpose of this discussion, is for people to know about this document. Radiation frequencies against our brains, etc. On page 93, they say exploit CNN syndrome. You can watch the movie called Psy-War. Human limitations and human downsides. Humans are too large. Humans are too heavy, too tender. Humans are too slow, both physically and mentally. We cost way too much money to maintain. And humans have rapidly decreasing to negative value. Can you even believe this? I mean, you're hearing this, and it's got to be rather shocking. This is the corporations' agencies. For example, on page 45, beam weapons increasingly prevalent. About on page 9, this is very interesting. They're going to direct evolution. Global elites believe that they have accomplished immortality. And they're doing that, again, keeping in mind that this entire document is about robots, cyborgs, and humans. They've already mapped our brains. We've just recently heard that they can transfer a human brain into machinery. So whenever they tell us that this is a new scientific discovery, we know it's been decades and decades prior to us ever finding out. They say that this micron-sized mechanized dust, they talk about the use of low frequencies, microwave frequencies, and they say 100% of the human population will be affected by these frequencies. Effects of frequencies and how it will be used, they acknowledge that it will interfere with our performance. We acknowledge this in this document.
It's wild to see that even back in this time, people could see what the globalist goals were for the population at a time where maybe email was the biggest thing in tech.
So the Acambora artifacts were discovered in Mexico in 1994. They consisted of 33,000 artifacts found, and the carbon date put them back 6,500 years ago, which would have been 4,500 BC.
Jeez.
But the artifacts were so strange, and I've never heard of them, probably because the story's trying to get swamped over by the Smithsonian. But these artifacts, they consisted of stone and clay, like figurines and stuff, of like dinosaurs. And like, there was one figurine of a warrior riding a triceratops. And they had other figurines of like mermaids, human animal hybrids. They even had one that looked like Bigfoot.
No way.
And then other ones that like resembled giants and like just this crazy stuff that like totally messes with the whole narrative that humans interacted with dinosaurs.
Yeah.
Because there's a man riding a dinosaur.
The timeline is scrambled.
It was authenticated by 3 men men in the profession that were like, they knew what they were looking at. But then the Smithsonian, so they came in like, nope, it's a fraud. None of these are real. We're going to carbon date it ourselves. And they did. And they're like, these are only 30 years old. Everyone's like, what?
I honestly don't know how they managed to carbon date something to be like 3 million years old or 40 billion years old. Personally, I think it's BS. But one thing I do believe is that humans were around when dinosaurs roamed the earth. I do believe that to be a fact.
When do you think the first ever alien sighting would have been? Ever recorded in history?
First?
Yeah.
Before the E.T. movie was made, because there's no way that they made E.T. based off, you know what I mean?
They actually have the first recording or first ever reporting of an alien or actually a UFO back in 1581, bro.
1581? God.
Sorry, 1561
God.
in Nuremberg, Germany. In Nuremberg, Germany, 1561 is the first time they've documented and told a story, painted, and pretty much said all of these eyewitnesses saw an event happening in the sky. Now, I'm gonna show you the picture.
Yeah.
I'm gonna show you the picture. Because this is real history.
Okay.
Like this is a historic painting, and they wrote a story beside it.
Yeah.
Check this out. Boom. This is on some like medieval times
oh
shit,
my
you know?
gosh.
But this is what they're depicting, and this is pretty much what they said was long time ago. There was a war in the sky, and that's what they said. They said there was war in the sky, but they couldn't, I guess, comprehend what was going on. All they said was there were shapes, rectangles, circles, squares, crosses, floating and hitting each other and exploding. And there was one specific shape in the sky that was shape of like an arrow, like this. You see this?
Yeah.
And it said it would stay still in the sky while all of this was happening. Also, while all of this was happening, certain shapes, once they were hit or once they were done moving, they would fall from the sky and drop into their village and explode. Now check this out.
What?
So where are all those artifacts though? That's a thing.
Buried in the ground?
I don't know.
I'm not sure about this one, to be honest, but what's your thoughts on this?
This right here is a Krampus celebration going on in Norway. I'm not trying to ruin Christmas for you. I'm just showing you how other people celebrate Christmas around the world. By the way, credit to that guy right there. So this right here, Krampus, is actually a half demon, some other kind of monster that's supposed to come and punish children. And he comes on behalf and with Saint Nick. This story gets a whole lot stranger and a whole lot darker in 1 second. That second is now. You're probably wondering, what does Krampus do to adults? He comes to put people in the chains of bondage. You can't even make this up. Which brings us to Saint Nick. Have y'all ever thought it strange that Santa Claus lives at the North Pole? He sees you when you're sleeping. He sees you when you're awake. He's all-knowing, omnipotent, always there to give someone according to their works. He punishes the children badly with birch rods. And the North Pole, where Santa lives, being omnipotent, they also have the aurora, which the colors mimic that of God's throne. You see what I'm saying? They're trying to make Santa in the likeness of God and an anagram for Satan, just for fun. And the North Pole, home to Rufus Nigra, the great magnetic mountain of the North. Also on all the maps before the 1700s. I would even argue more protected than Antarctica itself. Wonder why? Let me know your thoughts in the comments.
I believe that Santa was made up to destroy any hopes of being a Christian, because once a child realizes that Santa isn't real, isn't this man in the sky, who knows your works, who gifts you for good deeds but not for bad deeds, then that child will find it even more difficult to believe in God. Not to mention how Santa is an anagram for Satan. It's the perfect poison if you think about it.
Subject is lost, headed unknown.
What is that? Oh.
Literally no reason. My boss said it's because you're on your phone too much, you're too distracted at work.
Thanks everyone for chilling with me to the very end, and if you haven't already, smash that like and subscribe button, and I hope to see you again on the next one. Until then, take care everyone.